Alright guys, welcome back once again to Red Blue Gaming. While between videos, I've built another crisis suit. So again, we are one more in the list. So that gets us to our fifth of the required 6 for this list. So we have one left. Fortunately, I only have one fusion blaster left. So I need another one of those. But we can move into all the bits and pieces over here. Beginning to clean up the model for, obviously for construction, and then we'll be able to construct. And so we will have had 6 crisis suits with fusion blasters into this list, giving us a lot of firepower, really providing with the ability to hit what we need, really put the pressure on our opponents, be able to punch up per se into higher brackets, and really with the extended range on these bad boys, be able to look at, really pushing the point on keeping enemy at bay long enough for us to do some serious damage, enabling scoring to be a much simpler objective in turns. When you're looking at competitive play, scoring is very important in Warhammer. In many senses of the game, the more you can score, the more likely you are going to be victorious. But when it actually comes down to is stopping your opponent from scoring. So if you are forcing your opponent to what would be known as castle, which is what a lot of people like to do, especially tower players. Sometimes fast armies like to castle, or shooty armies, to be able to get themselves into a position to really take down as much of the enemy army as possible. Melee armies want to get up the board ASAP to be able to hold you in your deployment zone and really, take your army apart when they get close enough, as long as they can survive. So having the ability to really do some serious damage to your opponent forces them to think about what they want to sacrifice. Now, a lot of competitive play is based around a lot of really staging or trading pieces so that you can draw an enemy out into the open to attack one of your units, and then have the rest of your army or multiple units in that vicinity hit back and remove that opponent's unit. Now, you tend to do this with low-cost units. When playing Dark Angels, I had Scouts, which, everyone loves Scouts, but they also are very cheap and are good at getting out in the open or somewhere where you can pull another unit in to then go and hit that particular spot. With my Ravenwing Black Knights, for instance, because they had the command squad attached to them, they had an apothecary built into the command squad. Now, the command squad then had the ability to, with the apothecary, res a bike every turn. So as long as you didn't manage to, take a bad chunk out of that, fluff too much of your armor saves, and you got rid of said unit and could foreseeably put yourself in a position to maybe, charge into another unit with that same squad, enabling you to really survive combat shooting rounds the next turn, you would be able to then, once it hit your turn, return a model back to that unit. So, for instance, if I attacked a unit, charged into combat, didn't die, or had I staged a unit out in the open and the enemy went after it and only managed to kill one in either shooting phase or the fight phase, then once we turned around after my fight phase and we got into my command phase, once the mission was, or the round for that opponent was complete, the turn for that opponent, then I could just simply put that lost, either be it 1 or 2. If I lost multiples, then I'd have to wait, but that particular unit, if I only lost the 1, then that unit would go straight back into the rest of the guys, and he is returned on 4 wounds. So staging while trying to get someone to attack you can be very helpful and really work in your favor if you can do it right. And it does take a little bit of practice, a little bit of time, but it is something worth looking at. What models in your army, when playing competitive, do you have that you can forego trying to keep hold of them in order to collect another unit, or to provide yourself with the ability to score, or to force the enemy into making a mistake that can then provide you with victory points. Now, a lot of missions that I've played, I haven't played the new mission deck yet, but a lot of things can provide victory points. We've got Bring It Down. We have some of the other abilities, more horde killing, quests plus, quest is not the right word for it, geez, I'm going well today. We won't call it quests, we'll call it objectives, or you've even got stuff like dealing with characters. So if the enemy had a character that was attached to that unit and you managed to wipe a whole squad, then you could look at the skill or the secondary card if you had it for assassination, which would allow for, obviously, someone being able to take out a unit and then be in a position to have scored victory points. So you may be able to do multiple things, be that get on an objective, hold an objective, which always primary objectives are important, but then looking at your secondaries, for instance, you may have been able to, get hold of Bring It Down, or throw that away, Bring It Down, or for instance, say assassination, and really that requires you to kill units. You may have even have gotten something where you are required to, for instance, storm hostile objective. Storm onto a new objective that an enemy held and take control of it, which is one of the more entertaining ones. But there is a lot of different little quirks inside the balancing of what objectives you wish to go for, what kind of army you're playing against, how important it is to take that army on, what your skills are, and what really your secondary and primary mission cards can be. And so having a good mix of, for instance, units that can be easily sacrificed, and I'm going to say it now and point it out, this army has, and when I say it, it has Kroot. So it has Kroot for the whole premise of they are a unit that can be sacrificed. They are only cheap. They can go and hold an objective. They can score secondaries for me. And then if they get taken off the table, well, so be it. They have served their purpose. They can force the opposition to put themselves in a position where you can then go and dump a whole lot of rounds into that unit. Maybe they get attacked by a stronger force. Maybe it's a weaker force. Maybe what attacks them actually succumbs to the amount of firepower or even the melee capabilities of the Kroot. For instance, a lot of my setting models up to fight something is, especially with my Dark Angels, is loosed around the fact that I have a Impulsor with 5 Hellblasters in it, an Apothecary, and obviously Azrael. Now, the whole point is to take advantage of the Impulsor's ability to be a firing deck, and with the Shield Dome, you get a invulnerable save. So now you can unload the overcharged plasma, knowing that your guys won't die, and you have a better chance at saving or taking the wounds on the Impulsor. Impulsor has multiple wounds. It allows for, if you get a Tech Marine close enough to it, you can replenish its wounds, and all of a sudden you've got a mobile firing deck that really is there to annoy and harass your opponent, which for opponents is one of the most annoying things. Mine definitely, in the games I played, the last 2 tournaments, did its duties, definitely lifted itself quite well, and I was quite impressed by how well it actually functioned as a vehicle, it's in a whole, the way it operated and whatnot. Similarly with Tau, you have Breaches and Devilfish, and they provide, while Devilfish don't have the firing deck X ability, they do have special abilities which allow for guys to get on and off rather quickly, and shoot and move. Guys get back on after shooting, and most importantly, Breaches getting off a Devilfish, there is a buff for it. I'm not 100% sure what the buff is, but in the data slate there is abilities there for Breaches to get a bonus when getting off a transport, meaning that they become that little bit more powerful, a little bit more annoying to deal with, which is what everyone wants. Annoying, powerful models that are easy to that are hard to deal with. Well, not powerful, but cheap. If your 180 point model, that being a Devilfish and a full squad of Breaches, can take out another enemy unit that costs more or is equal to 180 points, then like for like value is quite impressive. If they can take down multiple units, then you are looking at a model and a combo, which is what it's usually referred to, that provides some very high-end balancing, attack, and distribution of damage to the enemy, the opposition player's models. This allows you to then focus in other areas of the game to be able to work towards providing yourself with... Now, I'm still just cleaning this slightly, but I am talking and breathing, fitting to breathe at the same time, which is rather painful. Rather annoying, I should say. But as we go through, we'll continue. But yeah, so it allows you to really look at what you can do in terms of putting pressure on your opponent. Opponents don't want to lose models. No one does. It becomes frustrating. Plans you had for that model or that unit go out the window, and you've got to think on the fly. Some people are very good at it. Others are not, and it can throw their whole game out, their whole strategy out, and all of a sudden they are on the back foot wondering what the hell went wrong. That is the main aim in most games, to put your opponent on the back foot. Have them thinking about what they can do, what they're going to do, how they fix the situation, can lead to them making more mistakes, them overreacting, which then enables you to really get on the front foot and be able to protect your assets, get them squared away a little better, and even provide yourself with a little bit of breathing space. Now, here we go. We've actually cleaned up all of the components. So look at that, we're flying. This is about to be crisis suit number 6. I did build number 5 off camera. I got into a bit of a flow this morning and then realised that I wasn't even recording when I was putting the bad boy together. So we missed out on one. But this is the 6 crisis suits that have been built. There is a requirement for 6 more when, well, I'm going to have to get some more because I don't have enough, which is slightly frustrating, but there we go. 1 crisis suit completed. We have 1 gun left, so we'll glue the gun onto the crisis suit, and then we are even further along the line because we are working towards completing this batch of models, and then that gives us some priming to complete, and obviously with the lovely ghost kill over there who needs to be dry brushed so that I can obviously panel line, which I have done on the broadside in the background. We're moving towards having more of the army put together than not. We also have 3 more stealth suits down to my left that have got to be built. I have a new commander, Cadre Fireblade. The one I do have, I found his cape, but he really needs a bath. Get him cleaned up and re-primed so that I can try and prime him again and start from scratch. I don't really like the way he was looking. Very terrible job on my end. But again, that's a job for another day. So let's move on with our lovely, let's get our legs together. And we know that the pin is there, maybe. Pin in, which means we can swing around and work on the next one, which obviously, given the angle of the pin, got some dynamic posing going on again. So we'll just sit that there for this aside for the time being. And yeah, we will have 6 Sun Forged crisis suits completed soon. So we're looking at a decent chunk of the army being completed, given that the Sun Forge are 130 points, 150 points each, I'm pretty sure, which is 300. We have, another 120 in stealth suits, 100 and something for Shadow Sun, 100 and something for Farsight, and then another 180 for the crisis suits. Obviously, this gentleman has to be painted black in some sections to try and mimic the same setup we have on the other crisis suit, which is cool because I got the grass, not the grass, I'm putting grass tufts down yet, got to do that. But the snow flock got in, snow paint got in all nicely on his feet. Makes him look like he's been running around the snow. But I'm very happy with the way that turned out, and I'll be mimicking the same type of setup over on this guy. I've just got to figure out whether I'm painting the entirety of the missile pods here, or whether I'm going to do the front lip and then paint the actual missiles a different colour. or whether I want to paint these sections, these bits here, back silver. But I will again be, painting silver, black, getting the blue in the gun lips, some silver there. Getting this all black, so it's going to be a little bit tricky because the other model, at least the upper body and lower body came apart, where this one I think I glued it way too well. He does wobble slightly. Be nice if I could. Well, that works. Unfortunately, that does help. I might have to... actually, that will be okay. It definitely does help with what I was trying to do. Allows me to get into a couple of bits and pieces I couldn't. And it's actually not too much of an issue to glue back together when it comes to it. But that actually makes my life a hell of a lot easier. I'll be able to deal with that in 2 sections, which makes life fun. The third one I have stashed away that I will build, I will actually not glue it together. I will blue tack like I've done with all these boys and like I did with the ghost keel. But yeah, let's move into the next section, which is just making sure that our feet, 1 and 2, go on nicely flat, because we're going to need to have the fella stand up. And we're going to want to just make sure that everything's in a good spot. And hope to God that this will set quick enough. Which, maybe. Oh. Yeah, definitely. Looking at setting. So that just leaves us the last couple of bits, which is obviously putting the legs in and the knee pads. And again, we have another model completed, so we can actually go ahead and look at priming them in the next couple of days. And then next week, we'll be able to paint, and that will be the next lot of movement on the broadsides. We'll be painting. Again, broadsides crisis suits will be panel lining once they're primed, and then painting, and then once that's done, it'll be gluing into position and basing them. And that will actually make life a hell of a lot easier. And then, yeah, as we said, 150, 200, 300. The far sight is 150, so that's 450. We've got another 100 and something for Shadow Sun, so that's another 110, I'm pretty sure. So we're 560. We've got 180 for the broadsides, which gets us to 760, and 8 is 14, so 840. I have a completed Piranha, which is 60, which is 900, and then the 2 lots of stealth suits gets us up to 1,000 points. And I guess from there, I will then start trying to get 1,000-point games in once everything is painted and sorted. I need 6 more crisis suits, which are coming. I have commanders I've got to build. But yeah, we're moving along quickly, and I'm glad it's going fastish. I'm quite happy with. Just got to figure out what I'm going to do with getting the rest of the crisis suits and whatnot. But that's it for today. I didn't say it at the start, so I'll say it at the end. If you like my content, please subscribe. Hit that like button, leave a comment. I'm doing my best to try and contact everyone. Look at this, a couple of 3D printed minis. Randomly enough, these are supposed to look like guys out of the movie Stargate. So that's technically supposed to be Teal'c, and then this is supposed to be Dr. Jackson, Dr. Daniel Jackson. So, but a little bit random. Something that I had a friend print me off, some sci-fi minis. But yeah, anyway, thanks for everyone for the follows, the likes, the comments so far. I appreciate it, and we'll continue on with this journey, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.